The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Welcome in, friends.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Philos-o-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 36.
36.
What is our topic today?
This is Be Kind.
This is a wonderful topic.
I think so.
Wonderful topic.
Yeah.
Well, before we do that, why don't we talk about anything from last week?
Yes. So last week was the Spiritual Awakening episode.
Right.
And we had really great response to it. A lot of people said that they took from it things that have been going on in their spiritual awakening that they didn't even think was related to, spiritual awakening. But there was something that I found interesting, and it's kind of ironic, is that there is something that I forgot to point out in last week's episode about the symptoms of a spiritual awakening. And one of those is memory loss. And I forgot to talk about memory loss because this one has, believe it or not, even though I forgot to talk about it, this has been the worst one besides the emotions for me.
Yeah.
Is the memory loss. I get very, very frustrated with myself because before this, I was on it. Like, I remembered everything. Now it's like, yeah, if you want me to do something, you better write it down, text it to me, put an alarm on. And so I did know that this was a part of the spiritual awakening. It was something that I had read. And the reason why they're doing that is because you're totally rewiring your brain. It's like an energetic remapping of your brain, basically. So it's like out with the old, in with the new. It is a very, very frustrating part of this process, but it is a part of the ascension process to enlightenment. Fleshing out the old.
I can see that.
Something else that I've noticed with it, that when I was looking this up today to kind of add some more points to it, was loss of motor skills. And I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes I'll just lose it. I can't even get the words out. It's like blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That happens to me a lot more now, too. I find myself getting more frustrated.
I mean, age has something to do with that, too. But you're right. There has been you tend to maybe things that don't hold as much importance to you, you're not remembering it much. Right,
exactly. And for me, like, can you imagine, I do probably, at this point, let's just say 30 readings a day, okay?
Right.
If I retained all of that information about my readings and about people and all of that, it would cloud my mind. So for me, I have to, like, have these types of memories, it's just not there. It's like it didn't happen.
Right.
And it's frustrating sometimes because I'll do readings for people, again, and I have to go back and read through things. But I understand. It's just a part of the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're suffering from some memory issues or like that loss of motor skill type things with your spiritual awakening, it is a part of it. So don't panic.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're getting old, that's a part of it, too.
It is. It is. I'm not going to say it's all spiritual awakening. I mean, definitely I'm getting older, but It did exaggerate pretty quickly.
Yeah, I definitely, I remember us talking about that sort of even close to the beginning, and now, I mean, a lot of times, I'm going to be honest, you say, you're not remembering what I tell you, and I was like, you're right.
Yeah, right, totally. It happens. It's just, I don't know. There is something that's cool though about that, is that I feel like with those things that are fleshing out, they're not like staying. Your kind of other side of your brain, the old memories are being more triggered. I remember a lot of things now about my life that I never remembered before, that when the flashes come to me, I'm like, that happened to me? And then I have to sit there and process it for a minute. And that didn't happen before the spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And it's happening more and more. And you're hearing like new stories. And I'm like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah.
That part of it has definitely been cool.
Yeah, I like that part when you feel like you're like, wow, it could just take one word from somebody that sort of triggers that, and we're like, whoa, I haven't remembered that at all.
Yeah.
You know? But I'll remember certain memories over and over again, like, oh, that's so funny. But certain ones, it's like, oh, that's been a long time, and I have never remembered that.
I think it happened when we were talking the other night that you started talking about something, and then you were like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Or the connection, like maybe to my past, when I'm looking at older photographs, like of myself and maybe like my previous marriage, and more so before Marina was born.
Yeah.
But that feeling of like, that feels like a different life.
Yeah.
Completely.
Doesn't it?
Like, it doesn't feel like it was even in this lifetime.
It is very strange. It's, yeah.
So a lot's changed.
Yeah.
To make it feel that way too. So.
For sure. Yeah. So, okay. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about it is last week's episode at the beginning, I talked about how I took the risk of doing readings for my friends on Facebook. And so there's a story that comes out of this now. And this is why I do this, really. I love to use my abilities to help people. And sometimes I don't know why I'm being told to do something. And I think that maybe it's just for my own practice, which this situation of me doing the readings for my friends, it was for me to practice. It was for my confidence.
Right.
But I didn't think about what I might be doing for somebody that I'm reading for. And so I got this message earlier this week from somebody that I did a reading for, and I'm going to keep this completely confidential.
Okay.
When she asked for a reading, she asked me about career.
Right.
And I drew cards on her career, and everything that came up was love. So I shuffled, and you've seen this happen. Cards fly.
Right.
I don't spread them out and pick that way. I just wait for the cards to fly. They're really, really highly accurate that way. It was the same cards, the same kind of cards.
Maybe explain really fast for anybody that hasn't listened to any previous. Like, so when she's shuffling in her hand, kind of just throwing a half stack into the other half stack, and whatever sort of doesn't slide in between each other and pops out. It's usually only one or two at a time. But
sometimes it's half the deck.
Sometimes, but then she just starts over because that's just a flub. But she'll just sit there and kind of shuffle them in that manner until one flops out.
Yeah.
Pick it up, and I guarantee you they'll throw you the same card over and over that way.
And they'll like flick it out of the deck in weird ways where you're just like, oh yeah, that came out of there. I don't know how they do it, but it's wild to watch.
Right.
So anyways, so I kept drawing the same cards, and I did it like 3 or 4 times. So I said, I'm gonna private message you, and because I didn't want to like go into that on the reading post. So I messaged her and I said, look, I've been trying to get the information about your career from these cards, and it's just not talking about that at all. It wants to talk about love. It wants to talk about a relationship. So it took me a little bit to get it out of her, but she admitted, she said, I'm having marriage problems and I'm thinking about leaving my husband. And I don't really remember much about the reading and what I said in it. But she messaged me yesterday and told me that because of that post that I put on Facebook, that I helped to save her marriage. Yeah. And it really touched me, and I was blown away by that. But this is what she said. It made me take a look at things, and I realized that I was blaming him for so many things that had nothing to do with him. I had created some ridiculous stories. Once I stopped that and decided to be kinder, there was a shift in our interaction with each other for the better. We're not perfect, but I think we are going to live happily ever after.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it something she was sharing with other people? Prior to this?
Oh, no. She hadn't told anybody that she was having these thoughts or problems about, leaving her marriage or whatever.
Wow.
So she was taken back by the fact that I knew that. And
so she was almost trying to just, in that reading, just kind of ignore that part of what was going on in life. And maybe this will be better. I'll focus on this.
And a lot of people do that. When they want to shove a problem underneath the rug, the cards will bring it up, or the spirits will bring it up. If somebody wants to reach a loved one, like say that I went to a medium, wanted to reach my mom,
right,
but my dad felt the need to talk to me, my dad would stand out and like not let it go. And so they do these things, these ways of getting through to us to help us. And that's exactly what those cards were doing, is it was saying, you need to stop and look. And I told her, I'm like, your career is not what's important right now. You need to deal with your marriage first. So I'm so glad it went that way.
Well, if it was important, the cards would have shown that to you. But you kept trying to ask, and they weren't answering the question.
Yeah.
We've had that experience a lot when we try to pull cards.
Yes.
Like we had some issues within our own relationship that we were kind of working through and trying to talk about, yet we were asking about this other aspect of our life, and they would not. They would not answer it until we started to,
deal with our issues.
And communicate and talk about the things that we needed to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my job at Shine now is showing me a different side of relationships and the insecurities. And it makes me really sad that people don't communicate and talk to each other, that they would rather come to a psychic and ask me what to do. And a lot of it really is just communicating, just changing your thought process too, because a lot of times we think it's the other person's fault. But if we stop to take a look at things, a lot of times it's actually us that's causing the problem.
Yeah, I think maybe the human, or a lot of humans for that matter, maybe our biggest character defect is that we all want to be right.
Yes.
And if we stop putting so much importance on that and more about understanding, trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes for a moment, it might help more communication happen.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people want to be perfect, so to speak. And if they can't be perfect, then what's the point?
Right.
Nobody's perfect.
Nope.
Jesus wasn't even perfect. Sorry. Nope. Nobody. So let go of that.
Right.
And let go of your insecurities about that you're not wrong, the other person's wrong, and start communicating on a different level. And it really does help. We're not perfect, but this has helped our relationship tons. It really has, because we look at things from the other person's standpoint now, where maybe before we didn't.
We communicate.
Yeah.
I mean, we may take a timeout, which is totally okay. If you're having a situation or a communication issue and it's not going well, taking a timeout is totally fine. Yeah. But can you go back to it and pick it up from where you left off, or start over and do it in a different manner?
Yes.
That's communicating, because maybe the first time wasn't going well, but you could see and hear that there's conflict. So how do you learn how to communicate around that conflict?
Yeah.
There is a way.
There is. And you know what? I think eventually we'll probably do a whole relationship episode, not just marriage, but friendship, because I think we both have learned a lot in this process about what it takes, and that you do have to self-examine.
Yeah.
Because it takes two people to make something bad. It really does.
And I think that we weren't intended to be put on this planet as a solitary species. We weren't meant to be alone. We actually are souls that are here together to actually work together.
Oh, for
help
sure.
one another. But that takes communication.
Yes. And that really is the basis of this episode that we're going into, is how to do that and how to change your thought process so that you're more kind and improve your life and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, right on into the episode.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, here we come. Episode 36. Be kind, dang it.
Be kind. So when we decided this was the episode that we were going to do, I was looking for some big fancy name and was searching, and I told you, I'm like, when it comes to me, it's going to click. And still, as of early this morning, it hadn't come to me yet. And I was like, this is starting to frustrate me. And, as it is in the shower, like usual, this name came to me, Be Kind. And I asked, okay, why be kind? Because it's simple. Mm-hmm. And being kind is simple. Mm-hmm. So a simple name, a simple idea, really.
However, the simplicity, which is very important, because I like things dumbed down for myself.
Me too.
I like simplicity. It's not only simple, but it's probably, I can't say it's the most important, but it is one of the most important aspects of living a life of true inner peace and happiness.
It is.
So I feel like we talk a lot about these episodes like, ooh, this one's really important.
Right.
Ooh, and this one's really important.
Yeah.
And then we maybe confuse people on which one is more important. Well, think of it like a cloth. It's a fabric woven of different things, different threads, and each thread is required to be there to hold the other thread in place. So that's how I see this. When you're looking at being kind, having a spiritual awakening, manifesting, things in your life. This is all, they're sort of different topics, obviously, but all connected. They are part of this cloth, all those threads. So, but this really is the basis. If you want inner peace with yourself, kindness is the key.
Yeah, absolutely 100% right. And I think that it's a confusing subject for people because they're like, well, what is kindness? What am I doing that's not kind? And I think that a lot of people don't realize that it can be even those small things that you're putting out, the small little bits of energy that is making you seem maybe not kind. And then you're, getting that energy back. So,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be what's seen and heard.
Right.
These can be your own thoughts, and that's changing your own thought pattern.
That is so important, and we will definitely get into that. But first, like I always do, I'll tell you what the definition of kindness is. Plain and simple, just like Mom said, the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. It's simple.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. So we've all been on both sides, really, right? We've been on the side of treating people with kindness and receiving kindness. And we have been on the side of not being treated so kind and not the opposite. Do you know what I mean?
Not treating people
right,
so.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So you've experienced both of them. So this was kind of my basis of where to begin with things, is that we know what it feels like to be treated wrong and unkind. So why do we think that it's okay to be unkind to people? We're taught in society, I think, like our minds have been kind of reprogrammed from what they should be. Do you know what I mean? Like when we were created and what our thought process was supposed to be, it's completely changed. Most people, I feel nowadays, are in things a lot for themselves. They don't look at the little person. They don't look at like what somebody could be going through that day.
Right.
If you cut somebody off in traffic, where to you it may just seem like you want to get somewhere faster, that could anger somebody and set them off to be unkind to somebody else. So it's all like a trickle down effect. It's contagious. Kindness is definitely
Traffic
contagious.
is a great way to practice that. I'll be honest with you, because it's real easy to, get angry and agitated by traffic and people's driving or cutting you off or someone's on their phone. And you hear it all the time. You see it all the time. People, whatever, road rage, honking, flipping each other off. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, what is that doing for you? Because you're not sitting in the car with that person that you could scream and yell at them, and not that that would make anything better, but you're in your own car all by yourself. So you're getting all bundled up and
exactly.
tight and stressed out, and now you're going to wherever you're going in that mood.
That's exactly right.
It's not necessary.
No, it's not at all. And a lot of times too, like we get angry about things that, like I've talked with you about this, about that you think one person is thinking something, and so you are angry at them for thinking
exactly.
that. But that's not what they're thinking. So you're self-creating that, and so you're making yourself in a way unkind. You're putting that out there, that energy, all of that. That
Yeah, that's a big one too. Is stop having those arguments in the shower by yourself. Do something else. Put some music on. Put something meditative on. Or focus on something, maybe you're breathing, the light shining in the window, whatever it is. But that's part of changing that thought process. And I worked a lot on that. Like not waking up crabby or in a bad mood, not going out in traffic, pissed at everybody. I still get agitated sometimes, I won't lie, but I've practiced a lot at that. Like just be a part of the traffic. You know,
Right.
you're not the conductor or the leader. You're just a part of it.
Yeah, and you know what? I realize too that some days I might be that person that agitates others, and some days others might agitate me, and so I just try and just not. You know, if somebody's, I might get mad, like if somebody's weaving in and out of traffic, but
Right.
if they're just, you know, I don't know, it just isn't worth it. It's not worth it to get upset about, because like you said, it just changes your own energy and vibrations.
Right.
So I asked our listeners if they make a conscious effort to be kind, and 100% said that they do. It's a ripple down effect, like we had talked about. Okay, it's when you do something kind for somebody, or you're kind to somebody, it trickles down. So how can you make a conscious effort to be kind? What are some things that you can do? One of them, I really, this one stands out to me a lot, is to stop and think before you speak. Because a lot of times we react out of frustration, or
It's reaction.
exactly. And so if you just stop and you think about that person's situation, what that person might be going through, you don't know. And so you obviously can't put yourself in their shoes because you don't know.
Right.
So you just have to assume that that person is having a horrible day,
Right.
and you want to basically try and help make it better. So you stop and think before you react or speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like you don't get along with this person and this person has it out for you,
Yes.
by not being kind, you're really doing nothing for the situation. If anything, you're adding fuel to the fire.
That's exactly right.
But if you do stop to take a moment again and think about maybe, and again, you may not know anything about that person, but think about the possibilities
Yeah.
of what could possibly be going on. You know, you could think, oh, this person's this age. Maybe they have an elderly parent that's dying,
Right.
and they don't know how to deal with it. Maybe they're married. I know they're married. Maybe they're not having a great marriage.
Right.
So does that give them an excuse to come in and be unkind to people? No.
No.
But like you said, when you're kind, it sets off a chain reaction.
Yes.
It has the potential to do so. Well, so does being unkind.
Absolutely. Yep.
So energy feeds off energy, no matter what it is.
That is so true. And also choosing the words that you use, because if you take a step back for a minute and you stop to think, you can reword your phrases. Instead of making them like directed at the person, you can think about, okay, well, why is this bothering me, and how do I address that in a kinder way? Changing your wording. It's so important. It sometimes I think we forget that the tone in our voice, the way we look at people, the words that we say, it all really does affect
Very
things.
much.
You know, if you go to a grocery store and you're checking out and the cashier is just standing there not talking to you, and they're having no kind of interaction at all, then, you know, maybe it changes your energy a little bit. But like yesterday, I went grocery shopping, and the cashier was like super friendly, and you're talking and it's feeling good, and that energy's rising, and you're getting, you know, those good vibes, and it really spreads
We can
like
affect
that.
each other like
Yes,
that.
we can. Absolutely. A couple of things I do research, and a couple of things some other articles said, judge less. And this is a hard one, I think, for all of us, because a lot of times I don't think we realize that we're judging.
Right.
We're so used to it that we just do it. The other night, you and I mean, I'll be honest, because we're not perfect. We were making fun of somebody. And, and Marina said, why do you guys do that? Stop it. Like, she doesn't like anything like that at all. Don't
She's
judge
ultra kind.
ultra kind. So we're trying to make ourselves feel better. Like, every once in a while, it's okay to make fun of somebody. And she's like, okay, well, you guys go ahead and do that. You know, she schools the adults. I'm like,
It's awesome.
yeah, well, until, you know, the president interrupted Harry Styles on Ellen last night. And then she wasn't so kind with
she was
her
insulting
words.
him, yeah.
But yeah, I love her, and she's so kind. She could teach us all.
She really, really could.
Yeah.
She has a very, very a heart of gold. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, besides that, like the judging, which is really, that's a great point, because I think we do a lot of things in our head. Like I said, it's not just the things that we see and hear. It's the internal behavior that we're doing with ourselves. When we can stop some of that,
Yes.
like the arguing and the judging, but to even get simpler in some way too is, we've talked about this. If you're out somewhere, you're hiking down a path and it's just pretty desolate, not a lot of people out there, but you cross a person, I usually look up and say hi.
Yeah.
If somebody, like you said, at a store is talking to me, or a cashier, I try to look at their name tag, and I actually try to call them by their name. Like, or when I say thank you, hey, thanks, Steve, or thanks, Jan.
Yeah.
You know, you suck them in on a personal level.
Yes.
When you address them by their name.
For sure.
You get somebody's attention immediately. And it feels personable. It feels kind.
Yes.
So holding a door for somebody, you know,
Yeah.
here you go, like, go ahead, after you.
Absolutely.
Those are small acts of kindness that need to be more prominent in society,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
you know?
And as you go on this, if you're going through a spiritual awakening, the universe will put these things in front of you to try and teach you how to be like that, how to be more kind. They will like purposely get things to like push your buttons to see how you react. And I just get to the point where I laugh now. I'm like, you guys, okay, I get it. You know, you can
They'll throw it at
now.
you at maybe not the best times.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the point, because they're teaching you how to be kind on every level at any time.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. It's not, I don't know if it's 100% possible. Again, perfection is not the key here, but every little step, every little change that you make, it does send off that ripple effect.
And you eventually will teach.
Yes.
But you can't teach unless you're taught.
Yes.
And so, are you teachable is the question.
Right. Absolutely. We are all teachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I asked our listeners, do you do nice things for people that you don't know? Like just random acts of kindness? And 100% said that they do. And I love this. And this is also something that the universe loves to see. Our friend Chelsea, she commented on this, and this is her husband, Tyler. She said, Tyler likes to pay attention to the people at the grocery store parking lot. He helps the elderly load their bags into the cars. It's the sweetest thing to watch him. I'm on the hunt for veterans. I go out of my way to thank them for their service and shake their hands, or if we go out to eat, we'll pay for their meal. It's my favorite thing to do.
That's sweet.
Very sweet. I love to do this. I don't talk about it much when I do it because I feel like it should be a random act of kindness. So I don't, but I do this a lot, and I love to do it. And I feel like when you put that kindness out there, the universe repays you. You know, it really does work that way. And that's not what we're doing it for. We're not being kind so that we get things back.
Right. There should be no expectation.
No, absolutely not. But because putting kindness out gets kindness back, it does all work. It's all relative.
It's chain reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to get the energy that you put out. But that you make a good point that kindness without expectation is kindness in the purest form.
That's absolutely right.
That's
Yes.
unconditional love, unconditional kindness, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
No expectation.
Yeah. I mean, there's an episode of Friends. Do you remember this episode where they're arguing about how you can do a selfless good deed, and Phoebe lets a bee sting her, and Joey's like, how is that a selfless act? That bee died afterwards. It is really hard if you like go deep into it and you're like, well, this isn't completely selfless because I do feel better. It's okay. It doesn't have to be like, you know,
Right.
You're allowed to feel better for what you did.
Yeah.
It raises your vibrations. Don't feel guilty. You're
No,
like,
I think we were kind of maybe referring more to like, it's not necessary to stand on the rooftops and announce it. It's almost like the more you keep it to yourself,
yeah.
the more you'll get back, I think.
Yes.
You know, I don't know how to express that, but that's a one way to look at it, maybe.
Because I'm so shy, this was something that I had a hard time doing. And it's something that they've worked with me with from the beginning, that when I was still drinking my Starbucks, that I would get up to the window and, I would hear, you should pay for the car behind you. And I would instantly start shaking and my heart would start pounding. I'm like, why are you so nervous to pay for somebody behind you? Why is it such a big deal? I don't want them to know it was me. I don't want any credit. I don't want nothing. I don't want thank you. So it took me a while to actually be able to do that, to the point where now when I hear that, I just do it. I don't second guess it. Does my heart start racing? Little bit.
Right.
Like, I think it was Thanksgiving. I got my coffee at McDonald's and I paid for the guy behind me. And it was like, move, give me my coffee so I can race out of here. So I don't end up on the community forum being thanked for this. Yeah. So if a shy person can do it, anybody can. And one of the things that I think about with this, because I think we go, well, I can't afford to pay for the guy behind me. Well, some of us, we can't. That's just the way
true.
that is.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And there's definitely a million other things that you can do. But if you have, some extra money and you're like, I don't want to spend this, whatever. I try to look at it as the way, as this amount of money going to affect me? Is spending $5 on the car behind me going to in any way impact my finances? And if the answer is no, then I do it. Now, I'm not saying I do it every day. But I do try to do something kind for somebody every day. It not always, monetary like that.
Right.
But I don't think that that's even, necessary. Just doing these things every once in a while is so helpful.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes when I do those, when I set them off, how far they go.
Yeah.
Because I have been on the receiving end. And then normally what happens is you pay for the person behind you and you try to keep it going. Now, the first time it happened to me, I was like, oh. Okay.
Right.
I was so taken back and then I drove off and I was like, oh, wait, I probably should have paid for the car behind me.
Yeah. No, it would be interesting to know how far it goes. It kind of feels like a game of craps. Like, if you know anything about the game of craps, really the odds are is the more bets you put down on different numbers and odds,
right,
the better chances something's going to land.
Right.
So the more you do this,
yes,
putting that energy out there, the better odds are that same energy is going to come back to you.
Right.
Again, I know that sounds sort of contradictory to the do it without expectation, but I can't sit there and say, what I mean is like, I can't sit there and go, oh my God, I paid for that family's meal. And, okay, it's been like a year now. When is somebody going to pay for mine? No, I can't do that.
Well, it doesn't usually come back the same way either.
It doesn't.
Yeah. It's usually different. So,
right.
Yeah, but I totally get what you mean there for sure. I think something that we forget too is that being kind improves our own lives in physical ways too, because improving your kindness, it really changes your blood pressure. It changes, for me, I used to have a resting heart rate of 100 beats per minute. Wow. And if you know anything about heart rate, that is on the high end of normal. I used to do these migraine studies and they would make me sit there and wait for my heart rate to come down before they could even start. Right. And it was consistent. Now I have a normal, it's normally 80, 70 something, 80, whatever that normal range is. Right. I can't attribute all of this to the mental changes I've made. I've made a lot of physical changes. I've stopped taking a lot of medication. But I do believe that the way that I treat people now and the way that I think about things now has lowered my blood pressure and my pulse.
I agree.
Yeah. I
think just this journey, that period that we're on, even though sometimes it feels like a roller coaster, but life can feel like a roller coaster, it's calmed us. Yes. Because every time I go in the dentist, I think because they want to take blood pressure to make sure people aren't going to pass out on them or whatever. But maybe because I'm a little older, they look at me like, okay, how's your blood pressure? And I'm like, fine. And they'll take it. And now they've got to the point where they don't really even take it anymore. Yeah. They're like, this guy doesn't have high blood pressure. Yeah. Knock on wood, I don't. I mean, I've learned to... And I don't even really eat that great. I should eat a lot better. I'm not terrible, but I just have learned to kind of calm myself down through this. Yeah, it does. It's really, for both of us, it has changed that. Yeah. For sure. A couple of other things to point out is no matter how angry you get, okay, it's not going to make a situation better.
So instead of getting that anger going, if you practice kindness, it does change the situation. Some of the things pointed out in this article is anger is an unproductive emotion. It's self-serving, egotistical, clouds your mind with negative thoughts, and forces out good ones. So all of these things, when we choose to be kind, we're putting all of these things out. We're getting rid of all of the like bad negative thoughts in our mind. But something that comes along, again, if you're going through the spiritual awakening, is they want you to get rid of your ego. Ego is like your biggest enemy. Ego is the devil.
Yep. That is the devil.
It's simple.
That is the devil.
Yes. So you have to fight that devil. You have to fight your ego. And it's very hard to do. But once you start to work on that and you see that it is so self-serving, it changes your thought process.
Right.
And it changes those negative thoughts into
like
positive
take, for
thoughts.
instance, somebody in a managerial position that's got people above them that are, breathing down their neck, that you got to get this done. And I don't care how it gets done. It's got to get done or it's your ass.
Right.
Okay, that's a lot of responsibility and pressure.
Yes.
So a lot of people, and I've come across this in my professional life and jobs and things, a lot of people will come into that with kind of that anger that you're talking about,
right.
That sort of overbearing boss,
Yeah.
Out of fear.
Yes, absolutely.
So anger usually is like a mask of fear or hurt. Okay. So this person comes now back into their realm as the supervisor, and they're basically, I don't want to say slave driving, but you know what I mean? They're
right.
They're intimidating you.
Yes.
Out of intimidation, getting you to do what it is that you need to do for them.
Yes.
So, okay, that might work for you, but is it building your team to be the strongest team that it possibly could be?
Right.
To really get the results and maybe better than what's projected.
Right.
By going in there and treating them with more of a kindness, more of a, hey, we're a team. Yes. I'm not your boss. That goes without saying. You know who your boss is at work, Yes. I can apply that to my own life within this, with the music and kind of leading this situation. And there's been many times that I've super agitated, frustrated with the situation, hurt or angered by something that somebody said. And I could use that as a catalyst to become that overbearing guy and then eventually probably just scare everybody away.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
You're not even paying me.
Right.
But once I realized that I approach it like, it doesn't matter who's leading it, if it's me, the next guy, or that guy.
Right.
As long as somebody's accepting that role and that responsibility, but still acts as part of the team.
Yes.
You're going to get a lot more progress and production out of people by treating them with kindness.
You're basically talking about leading by example.
Basically, yeah.
And it is a really big part of this. And in all these articles that I read, it kept coming up to lead by example. And it is a hard thing to remember because sometimes no matter how kind you are, people are still going to treat you unkind and unfair. And that, unfortunately, is just life. But it's those situations that when you learn how to handle those situations with kindness instead of throwing the anger back at them, it really changes things.
Now, those were the teachers and the bosses that I connected with growing up and through my life. Right. Was the ones that took the time to say, you know what, I'm no different than you.
Right.
We have different names, different bodies, but we're essentially the same.
Right.
Working towards a common goal.
Absolutely. So I asked our listeners, I said true or false. You can never go wrong with being kind. And 86% of our listeners agreed with that. So I started wondering, well, why didn't everybody agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is a lot of that is about your perception. Mm-hmm. Because if you think that putting out the kindness means that you're going to get it back, then like we had talked about before, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons. but it's also, it's the way you look at it. So this said, when we shift our thoughts from negative to positive, from hate to love, from war to peace, your life takes on the same.
Right.
And so if you think that putting the kindness out isn't getting the kindness back, then you're still putting the bad out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Or like you said earlier, too, you can't expect it to come back in the same way that you put it out.
Right.
So you might have to look a little deeper in your own life and go, wow, you know what? That happened. And I totally forgot that happened. And that was a really good thing and kind of unexpected. I wonder why.
Right.
You kind of have to follow it back. And you are left to judge. Maybe that's where it came from.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Absolutely.
So you can't expect it to come back in those ways, and you can't have expectations, like you said, about it.
No, absolutely you can't. Something that I think we forget is at the base of the kindness, of what is important about kindness, it starts in ourselves. It starts with self-kindness, which is self-care. And so I asked our listeners, do you practice self-kindness? And I was a little bit surprised by this, to be honest, because I wish more people did. It was only 75% of people that said that they practice self-kindness. And so here's some examples of what our listeners said that they do to help give themselves some self-kindness. Chelsea Tate Mamler, she said, I buy myself massages, take naps, say no to people if I feel overworked, take baths, listen to music, and play with my cats. Nicole said, I sleep in on my days off. I take long baths, like an hour. It really is a lot of times as simple as that, because just refocusing your mind and providing yourself some self-comfort and self-love, it changes your perception of things. Sometimes for me, it just is about getting in my car and turning the music up real loud and singing along with it. It raises my vibrations.
Right.
It makes me feel better.
Right.
I do consider that to be self-kindness because I know that it's making me feel happier. I like to get pedicures. That makes me have some self-care. Right. You know, it is doing something nice for yourself because most of us work really hard. We all have families. We have kids. It's like we forget to do nice things for ourselves.
We do. And it's not, it doesn't always have to be something in the physical.
Oh, no, definitely not.
This can be another example is like my friend Tim was going through some stuff a little while ago. And I remember just saying to him, or you even said it to him also, was like, just give yourself a break.
Yeah.
You're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances, and you got to take it one day at a time, sometimes 1 second at a time.
Right.
But cut yourself a little slack. Don't sit there and beat up on yourself.
Right.
Constantly, because you can get into your own head and kind of affect your own ego. It's weird, but
no, that's absolutely right.
Michael Fernandez said to me not too long ago, we were talking one day, and he said, I hate to sound cliche, Danny, but it's really about kindness.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. And keep in mind that this is a world that's based in karma. And kindness is so important because if you walk around being an ass to everybody, guess what?
Yep.
You're going to come back and you might be the guy that everybody's an ass to.
Yes.
So it's, what do you have to learn?
That's absolutely right. And none of us are perfect, and we all have pasts, and we've all done things in our past. And this was something that you and I were talking about, a couple of days ago, that one of the things that I hear the most that is important is letting things go. Because if you hold on to resentment and you hold on to all of those feelings, then you're just making your own energy bad, which in turn makes, how can you be kind to people when you're walking around feeling like, Yeah,
you're holding God knows how many years of whatever inside.
Exactly.
That's so important. I'm glad you said that, because letting go, you can't step into this, a spiritual awakening, a new life, anything, until you let go of your baggage.
Yes.
You've got to let it go.
You do. Absolutely.
And my life changed dramatically when I started taking that on a personal level, on a professional level. and just said, you know what, it's not worth, there's more energy put into carrying around that misery than there is to just lift it once off my shoulders and put it on the ground and walk away from it.
That's exactly right. And a lot of times it isn't that easy. And this where the spiritual awakening came in for me was it helped me examine all of those things so that I could let them go. Because it is hard to just say like, okay, well, there was this situation and I have all these feelings and all this baggage from it and I'll just let it go. No, you do have to examine the situation and examine what it is that went wrong, what you did wrong. And that's where facing your own BS is so important.
Yeah, you have to question yourself, is this worth carrying around
exactly
for the rest of my life?
This process also helps you to realize that you're just as human as everybody else. Because I think most of us want to be like, oh, I don't have these problems that everybody else has. I'm perfect.
Right.
No, not at all. We all have our own things and we all carry our own things from childhood and maybe, you know, a previous marriage or bad relationships. I'm seeing it so much with this job on Shine is that people are really just, they're beating themselves up for things that are not their issues to be dealing with.
I realize, wow, you know, we do pretty good with talking to each other and, you know, even if there's a bump, we don't let it stay there. We let it go.
Right, exactly.
And we move on. And you got to keep moving.
You have to. And you have to remember that the actions of somebody else and the way that they feel is not a reflection of you.
Right.
If somebody is treating you badly in a relationship, it's not necessarily about you. It could be a lot about them when it comes to work too. I think we forget that, you know, maybe we have that coworker that's a little bit snooty today and you're like, oh, well, what did I do? Well, no, it probably has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And maybe that person can use a little bit of kindness.
Right.
It's this job, like I said, with Shine, it's teaching me to be more kind because it's teaching me to be more patient. I get frustrated because I want to help so much. I want to open people's eyes and say, look, there's somebody coming for you in the future that is much better than this person that you're crying over that's already moved on to somebody else.
Right.
You got to let it go and move on. And, you know,
that's really the best advice.
It really is. You have to provide that self-love, self-care for yourself. Let other people's issues be their issues. You deal with your own stuff.
And that's not even spiritual advice. That's human advice.
That's exactly right.
That's health advice.
That's exactly right. But we're not taught these things.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to say that in general we're taught to be angry, but I don't think we're taught to love.
I just saw that on a post on Facebook that Denmark from grades, I don't remember what it was. I think elementary school all the way through high school that they teach empathy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is awesome.
Yes, it is.
That we need to be teaching these kind of things in school. I'm not saying anything against fundamentals. Yeah, we all need to know how to read and write and arithmetic and all that. But there's some very important things that we're not teaching our people. And if we did, we'd start to look at each other not as separate races, but as one. That's
exactly right. And something else that we forgot to bring into this is kindness towards animals.
Oh, yeah.
Being kind towards animals, to me, tells me a lot about somebody. If somebody's unkind to animals, they have some things they need to deal with.
Yeah.
Because this is a creature that can't take care of itself. Practice kindness always when it comes to animals, no matter what it is. That's my motto with that. Very important. So.
It should be that way with all living.
Oh, absolutely.
And that includes the earth, you know, it's everything.
Absolutely. We have a situation here lately with mountain lions, and I've never really gotten into this with the animals, with a wild animal like that before. And I'm communicating with this one that they're trying to capture and telling her where to go. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't do it, but I feel like my kindness and my openness with her has made it that if I wanted to go out there, she probably wouldn't hurt me.
Right.
I wouldn't do it.
But let's not try.
I'm not going to try. But I'll tell you that these animals, they have that kindness in them too. This one in particular she's looking for help.
Yeah,
she just doesn't
you can
know
see
where
it in
to
her
go.
Eyes.
Yeah. she doesn't know where to go. So I'm trying to guide her where to go, but she's afraid of humans because they don't treat her with kindness. Well, of course they're not going to when you attack their pets.
Right.
So it's like, but she's not being mean. That's not being unkind. It's a whole, it's a mess, but showing that sympathy towards animals, whether they're pets or they're wild, because this animal, it's starving and all it knows is that it needs to eat. And so don't shoot it because it's trying to eat is what I'm saying. That's not it being unkind. It's not being angry. It's trying to eat. Yeah. I'm going to ramble about the mountain lion for the rest of the day. It's
important. It made me think of Gabe shared this meme on Facebook the other day, and it was from Saturn, like underneath its rings, looking at Earth, which is like this tiny ball off in the distance, and it's got this little arrow pointing down at us. And it says, they fight over gods. Yeah. And wow, man, I don't know what about that grabbed me. And you're looking at it from Saturn's perspective in this tiny little ball. Yeah. And you're going, why do I get the feeling like this isn't happening in other worlds? Like this, like we are just this one ball that loves to fight and do this, and it really is the ego. It is, because we don't want to be wrong. We all want to believe that we're right. And if you have to admit that, maybe your religion isn't 100% right, and you're going to be, whatever, you're going to show kindness no matter what somebody else's religion is or whatever it is, it's not worth fighting about. We all are different people. We all have different beliefs. We come from different backgrounds. We shouldn't be judging people on their religion, their sexual orientation, their weight, their race. No, judge them on nothing. Yeah. They'll judge themselves when they get to the other side. We all will. Yes. Treat those people with kindness, and then maybe they'll spread that kindness on. Yeah. It trickles down. It sure does. Yeah. So that got me emotional. Well, as soon as you start talking about the animals, I saw it coming. I'm like, here we go. She's going to be out there tonight looking for that mountain lion. No, she's not. I know better than that. No, you won't. Yeah. So anyway, there's our Be Kind episode. Be kind. Be kind. Do it. Because it is that simple. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, that was a good one. Thanks. So. Good idea. Yeah, thanks, and it's, Linda, it's perfect in time for the holidays, because this time of year, I think people forget to be kind a lot of the times because they're in such a rush. Right. We also have our religious differences, which some people just can't deal with, I don't care what you are, what you celebrate. Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa to you, whatever it is that you celebrate. If you celebrate nothing... The flip side of that, too, is that this might bring the kindness out. This time of year might bring the kindness out in more people, and that's awesome. True too. Yeah, that's wonderful. But why can't this go on all the time? You see this happen when we have global catastrophes. You see people really understanding that we are one, and that we're floating on this tiny ball in a vast vacuum. Right. Okay, so at those moments is when you really see that kindness come out in people. And I love that. And it's sad. It shouldn't take catastrophes. No. And it shouldn't take Christmas trees. No, that's very smart. It should just be. Absolutely. There's a meme that floats around or something like that. It talks about not that we want to see 9/11 happen again, but I want to live in 9/12, where everybody, if you live in the United States, the day after 9/11, it was like the nation became one. We were all one for a little while, but God, that was a good feeling. Right. It'd be nice to go back to that. I wish we could be that, but globally. Absolutely. Yep. So. Maybe someday. We can. If we believe we can, we can. Absolutely, I agree. But everybody has to believe that. And how do you get everybody to believe that? Right. Yeah. You just got to spread it. Yep. Yep. And, at some point, humanity might just get tired enough of the unnecessary pain and agony that we inflict on ourselves. Yeah, because that really is what it is. If we, like I said, that self-care, whatever it may be, if you took some of that, you would see that it really does spread. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and it spreads like wildfire. Mm-hmm. Yep. For sure. That's why we say peace and love, because it's what it boils down to.
Yes.
It's really what it boils down to. Might sound cliche and stupid. I don't really care.
Nope, that's our love.
Yeah.
Our motto, peace and love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Thank
Do
you.
you got anything you want to share before we say goodbye?
Well,
to our friends?
like I try to do, I'll make it simple. My website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can find everything you need to know about me there. I am working on setting up 2 medium circles for February. So as soon as I have that information on those, I'll share it so we can start getting some seats filled.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I look forward to those.
Me too.
And for me, if you want to check out my art, djonesartcollection.com on the web. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at djonesartcollection. I just did a Tupac a couple weeks ago, and I'm working on somebody else. I was kind of hoping to squeeze one more in before the end of the year, but I doubt it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, it gets crazier.
So
on the
it'll make it
holidays.
exciting for the first one of 2020.
Yeah, we're going to be Uber for kids for the next 2 weeks, probably.
So it's busy.
Yeah.
Busy time with chitlins.
Yeah.
So, and then if you want to check out the music, gypsybrown.com on the web, and Instagram, Gypsy Brown Music, at Gypsy Brown Music, excuse me. And that's it for me.
Yay. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate.
Yeah, Kwanzaa, get it on. Do your thing.
Yep. We will talk to you after the holiday.
Be kind.
Yes.
And until next week, we hope you guys have a great week. Until then, peace and love.